Good evening. I'm excited to have this opportunity to be able to share with each and every one of you this evening. We have a historic night, a night where we are able to celebrate Black male leaders in education. In Pittsburgh, we have never had what we have now, with Black men leading Robert Morris University with Dr. Chris Howard, CCAC with Dr. Quintin Bullock, and PPS, Pittsburgh Public Schools with Dr. Anthony Hamlet. We are so excited to have them here today. I am Dr. Darrell Trevino Kennedy. I am the senior pastor of the Rodman Street Church in the city of Pittsburgh and virtually around the world. I am also the founder of the Life Male Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math Academy. I know the importance of education. I know the importance of celebrating Black male leadership. So we are so excited for you to join us. This is our 10th year doing March Madness Men's Revival. The first time we've had to do it virtually. I had these men scheduled to come last year, but because of COVID-19, we were unable to gather. So I wanted to be able to bring them back because they have some powerful stories that they want to share with us, the work that they are doing in the community and the various other things. So we are really excited to have them. I'm going to ask now that they will introduce themselves. We're going to begin with Dr. Christopher Howard.
Thank you very much, Reverend Kennedy. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Dr. Chris Howard, the 8th president of Robert Morris University. I've been the president for about 5 years and also was the president of Hampton-Sydney College for almost 7 years, a liberal arts college for men. So Darrell, there's no more important topic than this. And I also have two Black sons. And so, you know, when they behave, they're my sons. When they misbehave, they're my wives, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Dr. Bullock.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you, Dr. Kennedy, for the opportunity to participate in today's discussion. I am Dr. Quintin Bullock, president for the Community College of Allegheny County, where I have had the pleasure to serve as president for 7 years. I'm also the former president for Schenectady County Community College in upstate New York. And lastly, I'm a proud graduate of Prairie View A&M University, where I had the pleasure of earning my bachelor's and master's degree and went on to University of Texas Health Science Center Dental Branch to earn my Doctor of Dental Surgery and postdoctorate at the University of Rochester School of Medicine. So I am a strong supporter of STEM and health sciences and look forward to today's conversation.
Thank you. Dr. Anthony Hamlet.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anthony Hamlet, superintendent of Pittsburgh Public Schools. And it's unbelievable that time has flown so fast. I've been in Pittsburgh now for 5 years, unbelievable. And it has been a whirlwind, I can tell you that. And we are proud and extremely happy of the work we're doing, but we're not satisfied where we are. We want to continue to push until all of our students are proficient in going to college, career, or technical university to further their careers or become productive citizens in the United States. And so that's one of our missions, that's our goal, that's our focus, but also make sure we reach out to our higher ed partners and work together to create this ecosystem, this next gen ecosystem that will really support not just our students, but our families, because we know if we support our families and support them in certain ways, that will enhance our students' educational outcomes and increase their proficiency. So we're excited about the work we're doing and the partnerships that we have in the community.
Well, looks like I'm the oldest person on the line. I've been here 11 years. I just crossed over 11 years the second Sunday in February. I arrived in 2010 and it was more snow than I'd ever seen. I'm a Florida boy, like Hamlet, and I had never seen so much snow. We got 2 Texas guys on here with me, so we got a lot going on here, but we are really excited. I would like for you to discuss your vision of what Black men need to be doing to lead our communities through education.
Well, I'll start. You know, I look back in my early years when I started out as a high school science teacher, working in urban school district, teaching physical science and biology. And it was important for me to really provide examples to underserved populations how to appreciate and enjoy the sciences, and to let them know that science is not difficult. Science can be learned if provided the tools and the motivation to assist them in the mastery of the discipline. And I think it's important within our educational systems that we have representation of persons that represent the community in front of the classroom, because it allows our students to have a sense of connection and representation to say, wow, if he can teach biology, then I can learn it. If she can teach mathematics, then I can learn it. And one of the greatest tools of education is the classroom teacher, because the teacher is the one that is closely connected to the student throughout their educational growth and development. And as we develop curriculum, I think we also have to realize that all students learn differently. So some students are visual, such as myself. Others are just give it to me, I'll read it, I can do it. And then let's take a combination of both. And part of our role at the Community College of Allegheny County, we reach students where they are, and we provide them the necessary educational structural tools to assist them in beginning their education, continuing their education, or just taking advantage of opportunities to get ahead. So I believe that there is no one formula for student success. It's multifaceted. And I believe that we all have ways that will motivate, encourage, and stimulate success that will take our students very far.
I'll piggyback on that very quickly, Dr. Bullock's comments, which were spot on. So my comment, DC, for Black boys is understand you're supposed to be in the room. You're supposed to be there. Don't think for a moment that you're not supposed to be there. I use a term at Robert Morris University called agency. Agency means that if I do A and I expect B to happen, it will happen. If I do A and I expect B to happen, it will happen. And sometimes Black boys don't necessarily think that they have a chance to affect change and make a difference, whether it be, as Dr. Bullock was saying, in the classroom, or whether it be just in society in general, but you are supposed to be there. And also understand that, hey, if you're trying to master something, if it doesn't come the first time, that's okay. You can learn it a different way. You can roll up your sleeves and get there, and work ethic will get you there. I always jokingly say that, I put my bona fides. I'm an Air Force Academy graduate, distinguished graduate. I'm a Rhodes Scholar. I have a doctorate and master's from Oxford. And I have a master's of business administration from Harvard Business School with distinction. But I had to get a math waiver to go to the United States Air Force Academy. I had everything else. I was just that close with my math score. But when I went to the Air Force Academy, I got all A's and B's and all my science and engineering and math courses. And I, as we young folks, I crushed it, folks. I did. I'm not saying this to brag at all. I'm saying is that if you put your mind to it and you get the assistance you need, and you don't have to be an island, you don't have to do it by yourself, you will be able to overcome these things, and to have that positive attitude, have that sense of agency. You're supposed to be here. It is not a mistake. It is not an accident. You're supposed to be in the room.
Excellent.
Hamlet.
Excellent. Also to both Doctors Howard and Bullock's point, we want to make sure that we focus on model the expectation. We are here. I have a doctorate from Nova Southeastern University. My master's is from Nova Southeastern University in educational leadership, and I graduated from the University of Miami, Florida. You know what? You have to put it up right. It's this way. You just did Texas Longhorns, but again, making sure that we get back to our young Black males and present in front of them and say, hey, this is who we are, but also understanding all of us have a story. We are here. Yes, this is our journey. We're still on our journey, but we are here. We started where you are. I tell my children, our students, I see myself in their eyes on a regular basis, and I tell them about my story, how I grew up, rough neighborhood, poor, etc. But I had a vision. I know what I want to do. In front of very early on, I said I want to go to university, I go to college and play football and go to the NFL. and then become successful in whatever. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know with education and having a degree, opportunities and doors will open. So I set myself down that path, and don't fall into the negativity. Don't fall into things that people tell you that you can't do it. You don't have the capability. Again, you aren't supposed to be here. You shouldn't be in the room. No, stay focused, stay committed, educate yourselves. So when the opportunity comes, you're ready, right? But also as you go through this journey, make sure that you are being the best person you can be, humbling yourself in front from others and treating others as you want them to treat you. Because story real quick, I go through this process, graduate University of Miami, come back to Palm Beach County Schools and began working as a teacher in Palm Beach County Schools. Went up the ranks, subsequently becoming a principal, and then a district supervisor. And ultimately, believe it or not, I became the supervisor of some of my teachers who taught me in high school. And so those connections, those relationships, and they trusted me because they know what type of person I was when they had me in their classroom. I was young, I was positive, I was inquisitive, and I wanted to do better for myself and wanted to be educated. So what you're doing now matters in the future. So again, stay focused, stay committed. Don't think about where you are right now. Think about where you want to be and what you need to do on a daily basis every day to get there. So
one of the things that I see in the three of you is that you took some non-conventional ways to get to where you are now. Such as Dr. Bullock, you have a doctorate in dentistry. Talk a little bit about that and how you saw that being able to get into what you are doing now.
Well, one of the first things I always say is that it's important that you earn degree. And the degree that you earned does not determine your destiny, but it's one of the tools that will open many doors. Now, my pathway into what I am doing now as a community college president is very non-traditional. But one thing I can say, the majority of our dental hygiene programs are represented at the community college. You would generally be trained at a community college to be a dental assistant or dental hygienist, which was the case at the college in which I initially began to work as a director for the Center for Urban Education Studies with a focus on STEM and healthcare programs, working with underrepresented populations with the goal that we would create pathways into the sciences and into healthcare. And it was providing the supportive services and the instructional assistance with underrepresented groups to help them realize the potential in going into a STEM and or health field. My background in dentistry includes all of the core sciences. So any of the advanced sciences, microbiology, pathology, biochemistry, are all elements, anatomy and physiology. So I can teach any of those courses in the sciences because of my background. In addition to that, dentists are trained to be analytical, critical thinkers. So we are very critical and analytical in our thoughts. We're very organized. So you think about higher education and higher education leadership represent the skills that align with the traditional college leaders who do come prepared with a different analytical focus. So it gives me that equitable edge to also work in that area. So when I look at careers, I always tell my young men and women to don't think that you can only do one thing. If an opportunity opens, nothing lost in exploring it. If you don't like it, it's okay. Try something else. And I also mentioned to them that your determination and your destiny is in your hands. So whatever you choose to do, do it. This was not a career path that I had chosen. My goal was to be working in the healthcare field, but an opportunity opened and it affirmed where my areas of interest and strengths lied. I took advantage of it. I've had a very successful career as working as an executive dean, a provost, and 2 college presidents. So I challenge everyone, go for it. If you want to doctor dental surgery, you can do it. And if you want to a doctor of philosophy, you could do that, or a doctor of education, or any of the doctors that are out there will open any door that you desire to go. The important thing is that you earn a college degree and go as far as your motivation will allow you to achieve.
Thank you. Dr. Howard.
Yeah, you know, it is a case of a couple of untraditional people, but capable people. And to piggyback on what my friend Quentin said, by the way, Quentin and I met in school. We went to the new president seminar at Harvard's Graduate School of Education. I think it's about 100 years ago, it feels like, Quentin. I think it's about 12 years ago, right before I ran Hampton-Sydney College, right when I was beginning my tenure there, and Quentin was beginning his work at Schenectady. So we have been classmates together and friends for a long time, and my mom and dad are Prairie View people as well, so go PV. But in terms of my journey, you know, I'm a military officer. I'm a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel. I did 8 years active duty, 13 in the reserve, including 1 year mobilized to Afghanistan, running human intelligence operations. And at the end of the day, if you're a military person, you are a servant leader. You're a service member. Your job is to be there for your airmen, your troops, your sailors, your Marines, your Coast Guard members. And so that attitude and aptitude for service is what has served me very well. Well, they overuse the term service as a university president. Now, along the way, you deal with the complexity of military operations. And like Quentin was saying, it gave me a sharpened mind for planning, for strategy, and most importantly, for leadership, helping motivate people, create a shared vision to move an enterprise from one place to another place, physically, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. So my time in the military helped me and set the foundation of leadership and servant leadership in particular. And then after that, having spent some time in the corporate world and understanding how business works, is because my friend President Bill Harvey from Hampton says we are in the business of education, Chris. So we're not a for-profit entity, but we have to understand how the money works. And so spending time at General Electric as a general manager, kind of a junior executive at Bristol Myers Squibb, let me understand complex business, finance, funding, marketing, sales, operations that have served me well. And finally, I started a nonprofit with my wife years ago called Impacting Lives, where we bring South African students of color to visit. So just that sort of overlay of understanding the globe and having a global outlook has helped me as well. I would say in closing that years ago, I got to know a lot of people at Morehouse. I know that's DC's alma mater, you can tell by his wonderful background, and thought for a minute, and what got me to gravitate toward actually leading in higher education was actually Morehouse. Both my sons' godfathers are Morehouse men, one of whom Daryl knows very well, Mark Allen. And I thought to myself, maybe one day I'd find myself in an administrative leadership role at Morehouse. And my cousin's a professor there. I'm very close to President Thomas and people before that. But it was the aspiration and inspiration of Black men in leadership that got me into thinking about the space. And then was at the University of Oklahoma. I got my first break, kind of fell into it and never looked back. That was 16 years ago.
Wow. Well, early 90s, late 80s, when I was looking at you, Hamlet, on television, had a lot of Miami Hurricanes who played with a bunch of you guys at Morehouse with me. And oftentimes they look at us as just Black athletes. And oftentimes they pigeonhole us into being gym teachers or in the discipline, working with kids through discipline. So how did you navigate through that?
It's interesting that you say that. So let me tell you about my situation, how I got here. So Dr. Bullock hit the nail on the head, right? You have to, or you should get that degree. It will open doors for you, doors you wouldn't you imagine that you will go through. But having that degree and that knowledge will open up those doors and get you the opportunities that you need to have to be successful. So when I graduated University of Miami, I graduated in general studies because I went to various schools. I was inquisitive. I wanted to learn a lot, and to end up getting my degree in general studies, but concentration in sociology, psychology. But also on the other side, I took marketing and public relations as well. So I was just interested in a lot of things. And so I graduated University of Miami, get drafted, put her around the NFL, for a bit, then finally decided, it's time for me to grow up and go home and get a real job. So, so I always wanted to work with children. I saw myself as being a social worker, getting a master's in social work, counseling children, etc. In fact, one of my first jobs, not in non-NFL, I worked as a family supervisor in a group home for children. So again, that was my trajectory. But the football bug kept biting me. And so I decided I want to become a high school coach. And so I started off as a substitute teacher at the first alternative education program in Palm Beach County, Gold Coast Academy for behavior students. And I started as a sub in that position. And I was in the position as a substitute teacher. So one day, like a month into my tenure there, the principal comes and sees me and says, "Hey, why don't you apply for your teaching certificate?" I said, "No, I don't want to be a teacher. I'm just here for the moment right now, just helping out." She said, "You'll get paid more money." I said, "Okay, I'll apply for that." I'll apply. So I applied. And of course, I had the degree, I had the credentials. I got my 2-year certificate and 2-year certificate, non-renewal certificate to begin teaching and become a professional teacher. So at that point, I applied for a position at Wellington High School so I could become a coach. And also I became a dean of students. And so I go to Wellington High School. Long story short, I ended up going through the ranks. And when I was a teacher, I said I never want to be an administrator. So one of my mentors came in as a black superintendent in this suburban white area, and really educated Florida A&M graduate football player, and he became the principal there. And so a month into his tenure, he came to me and said, "I want you to think about becoming a teacher or a special assignment as a dean in student services." I said, "No, I'm not interested in being an administrator. I'm good. I'm good in the classroom." A month later, after that, he comes back and says, basically, "If you want to work here, this is what I need you to do." Okay, sure, I'll do it. Okay, I'm good. Let's go. And so anyway, becoming the dean of students and really seeing the response that I had with students, really seeing how I connected with them, was drawn to the high performing students, the low performing students, the special education students, the EL students, English language learner students. Students gravitate toward athletes. And so that was a plus for me. I could talk to children that other adults couldn't because I was a football player. I was an athlete. And so I use that to my advantage to really support helping children and developing relationships with them so I can respond to them positively and help them become positive as well. And so that being said, I went up through the ranks, saw my response, decided to become an actual assistant principal, went back and got my master's degree in education leadership, and then went up the ranks from there. But to your point, they always find themselves, even in industry, in whatever industry you are in education. My first principalship was, because I was a big black guy, I was at the behavior school, my first principalship. But they saw the turnaround in that program, and they were saying, "Oh, well, we don't have any after school suspensions. What are you doing?" It's creating that culture of positivity for children. It's creating that culture of positivity for our educators there, so we can have this ecosystem, as you would say, that is positive, always motivating, always supporting, always helping each other. And culture trumps strategy every day. You guys know that. So if you don't get in there and change the culture and transform that, you will not get the results that you want to have. And so from there, went on up. And my trajectory in Palm Beach County, started the behavior school, went to another behavior school. We opened a brand new state-of-the-art behavior school for students. Then from there, I went to JFK Middle School, and then Palm Beach Lakes High School, and then Central Office. And then I find myself here in Pittsburgh, doing the work, getting the work done. And the same truths back then hold right now. You got to stay focused. You got to stay humble. You got to stay committed. You got to understand what the mission and vision is, but also what your purpose is of where you are. People ask me all the time, You moved from West Palm Beach to Pittsburgh. What is wrong with you? Do you know it's cold up there? I said, I was called here for a purpose,
Mhm.
and I will not leave until I achieve that purpose, regardless of what's going on, because I'm staying focused and committed to the children in the community of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
The most powerful force on earth is an educated, empowered, engaged, and employed Black man. This reality is the root of all the insidious attacks to deny Black men access to these things. How do we, as a community of Black men with varied backgrounds, education, economic status, push back against the establishment that fears us?
I think number one, it's important for Black leaders to reach down and bring along other individuals and to provide them the mentorship, the motivation, and the encouragement that is needed for them to overcome the challenges and obstacles that they may be currently facing. I also believe that we must show them all of the opportunities that they have before them. You know, I cherish mentors, and I have multiple mentors that I work with, even in my latter years of my profession. But one thing that has stood out to me over the years is something that mentor said to me many, many years ago that I have not forgotten, that I always share. And there are things that I like. I love cars and I love homes. Both of those are expensive. And they say that if you want those things, that you must have a good job or great career that pays competitive wages. And the mentor said to me, remember, Quentin, algebra, biology, chemistry comes before Lexus, Mercedes, and Porsche. In other words, you got to get your education, get it in the STEM of the healthcare, and then you can buy your Lexus, Mercedes, or your Porsche. And that stuck with me. And I've had the Lexus, I've had the Mercedes, I just haven't had the Porsche. But it's on the list. It's on the list to go. But my point is, giving examples, job shadowing, so that they can see an example of a career. You know, what does it take to help them understand while in grade school, why are you learning how to write? Why are you learning how to read? What's important about math? How does the science tie into this career? So as they are taking their classes, they're taking their studies very seriously. They're also looking for extracurricular activities that allow them to not only have the instruction that's within the school, but also engage in extracurricular activities. I was raised as a single mother. My mother and father divorced in my early years, but my mother was very strong and very disciplined. So I was in 4-H, I was in Boy Scouts, I was in Upward Bound, because she said, idle mind is a troubled workshop. So she made sure that me and my brother and sisters were actively engaged. So I was very active throughout my younger age in exploring and participating in different events to keep my mind stimulated and focused. So by the time I graduated from high school, I knew what I wanted to do. It wasn't a question about what do you want to do, Quentin, now that you're out of high school. I knew I wanted a career in the STEM and healthcare field. And that was developed by connection to mentors, professionals in the career, which I remember Dr. Stone, who was one of the first prominent African-American gynecologists in Houston. His wife was my first grade teacher. And I remember very vividly when he came to the school in this long black car. And you look out the window, I said, what kind of car is that? It was a black Cadillac, one of those Cadillacs with the wings on it. Remember the 1960, 50, 59 or 60 wing. And I said, what does he do? He's a medical doctor. I said, that's exactly what I want to do, because I want to get one of those big old cars. Although, you know, that seems, you know, very different, but it is a motivating factor when they can see one that looks like them and hear their story and align those experiences to what they're doing. it adds to one's motivation and encouragement. And the last thing I would say is that think about it as an athlete. Athletes do not give up. They go to the finish line. So what's important for you as you go to your studies, keep your eye on the finish line and don't give up.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on those comments, and I'm going to try not to be redundant because Dr. Bullock really hit the nail on the head. In terms of what we do as leaders in the structural part looking out, is that, as Drake would say, I'm doing me. We got to do us, be our best authentic selves. Yeah, we all code switch and navigate. We have to do that to be able to, to be able to communicate with other folk. But by the same token, us being our true authentic self, like Dr. Hamlet was implying, he's staying true to the students. Quentin's saying STEM matters. And we got to say that in front of people that don't look like us. We have to, as Frederick Douglass said, we got to agitate, agitate, agitate. We got to say things that make other folks, including white people, feel somewhat uncomfortable when we speak about the particular incidences of structural racism in this country, peculiar to the original sin of America, which is slavery, which impacts us now. And we have to be willing to say that in audiences where it doesn't feel good. I've been in rooms with Dr. Bullock, literally and figuratively, and we've been able to kind of speak truth to power. And that's important for us to do. The mentoring, the coaching, the modeling that Quentin talked about as well. I would say on top of all that, just be available. Especially when Black boys in particular want to get on my calendar, whether they be students at Robert Morris University. We'll talk later on about this new agreement we have with CCAC called RMU Gateway. I will be available, and I've been available, Dr. Hamlet, to many PPS graduates of all backgrounds, but Black boys in particular, available just to talk, just to be there to hear, and to give them, give them my guidance and my wisdom. I also have been in many formal, in addition to hiring people, been in many formal mentoring programs and informal mentoring programs where people say, hey, I think I want to be a university president. I say, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Let's talk about it. But you can. And so I have been very deliberate and intentional over the last decade, taking every single call when someone wants to think about being the president. I run a university that happens to be a predominantly white institution, and there are a few of us running predominantly white institutions and HBCUs. So if people are thinking that, they find my number, they find me. I'm very easy to get to. And y'all want to talk to me, howard@rmu.edu. You're gonna find me anyway, and I'm gonna talk, but I'm gonna give you homework though. I'm going to say, if you want to talk to me, I got a 300-page document called Pathways to the Presidency. You need to get to that first, then we can walk it and talk it and create a strategy. The last thing I want to mention, because this is the empowerment and the sense of agency for Black boys, is we help them find their place in the world and move forward. Look to your history. When I was in third grade in Little Rock, Arkansas, at Romine Primary School, I came across a book. And it said, and Anthony, you'll appreciate this one, man, as a teacher, man. Book said, it was Booker T. Washington. I went to my teacher, the librarian who happened to be white, and I said, is this George Washington's cousin? No, it's not George Washington's cousin, but you ought to read it anyway. I said, okay. So I went home that night, guys, and I started reading. I said, wow, this guy's interesting. He's an educator. He's a businessman. He started a place called Tuskegee. Wow, he met with Theodore Roosevelt. Mom, did you know that? My mom said, I went to Booker T. Washington High School. Oh, really? And she said, your dad went to Booker T. Washington High School. Really? Oh my goodness. I went back the next day and I read the book all in one day, gave it to my library. And she said, well, here's a book on George Washington Carver. Oh, wow, who's George Washington Carver? That's not George Washington's cousin, is it? So I kept reading. And then it was Frederick Douglass, and it was W.B. Du Bois, and it was Matthew Henson, and Shirley Chisholm, it's Paul Robeson, it was Malcolm X. It was all these great leaders, all these people it was Fannie Lou Hamer, right? It was Ida B. Wells. It was all these, as Isaac Newton said, the reason I can see so far is because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. And never let people think for a minute. Never think to yourself that with this right here, that you're inferior. No, Black is beautiful. It's Black History Month. you know, they only gave us 29 days. They didn't give us, you know, because you know how that works. But that's all right, though. We got this beautiful thing. All seriousness, that's Carter G. Woodson, first Black PhD from Harvard. Another person I read about with great interest. But understand from whence you come, and that helps you figure out where you can go. And Black people have done so much. And let's open up to the Black diaspora, like my wife from South Africa, and what we did in Africa and what we did in the Caribbean and in the diaspora across the world. Then it becomes a whole nother narrative. So in terms of, we got roles to play here as older Black men, and as you young Black men, make sure you're reading about your history and feel like you got stick your chest out a little bit, stick your head up, because you are, as Jesse said, you are somebody.
So it's great entry for me. So to come in, so I want to talk about this structural racism. I want to talk about the economic racism, but also more importantly, the structural and the systems racism that exist. And what do I mean by that? And so when you look at education, and I'm using Pittsburgh Public Schools as this example, and we approach the work with our system is perfectly designed to get the results we're getting. And if we don't change the system, we'll continue to get those same results. And so we attack it from that standpoint. Why is it that African-American students make up 55% of the student body in Pittsburgh Public Schools, 32% white, and the rest other? However, when you look at advanced place coursework, students of color only represent 10 to 15% of the students in those programs. And so that goes back, and you guys know what I'm talking about, those gatekeeper policies that are in place to get kids into these type of programs. Why is it that only, again, students of color, why is it only 5 to 10% of the students of color are in the gifted program, gifting and talent programming? Again, because of those those formal structures that were there, and the status quo is the enemy for us. That's the way we've always done it. So, as I said, if we don't change the system to make sure that we begin to open up access for our Black and brown students, we will get the same results we're getting. And so we attack it from that standpoint. Who are these gatekeepers? What are these gatekeeper policies that are in place that we need to change, that are hindering our Black and brown students from taking advanced place coursework, from participating in gifted and talented programs? And you have to really be courageous in attacking these systems. And again, people need to understand that's the way he's always done it. But when you come from the standpoint of race, that's systemic and structural racism. Those policies are in place. That goes into larger society. When you talk about redlining, when you talk about the economic oppression of minorities, you can't buy land in certain areas. You have a higher interest rate to pay your money back if and when you do get a loan. So again, it exists in all of our organizations. It exists in our country at large, understanding that this system wasn't designed for all of us to be successful. And so we got to continue to push. And that's why we talk about, yes, your vote counts. You can make change at your personal level, at your work level, but also at the national and world level as well. But we have to participate. You have to be in the game to win the game, right? You got to participate in all these things that are out there. You may not think it's fair, but if we don't vote to change it, it will continue to be unfair for us. So.
Thank you. I agree with you 100% because this is a systemic place of racism, institutional racism. And so what I really appreciate about you guys, you have not allowed that to stop you from rising up to where you are. Let's use this time now to discuss some of the programs, scholarship opportunities, et cetera, that you all are doing now.
I'll chime in, and I'm proud that actually, I'm involved with Anthony and Quentin on various levels, but our most recent announcement of scholarships and programming is with my good friend here, Quentin at CCAC. So we have formed a program called RMU Gateway, where we have partnered in consortium with dual enrollment and dual admissions with the Community College of Allegheny County, Community College of Beaver County, Westmoreland Community College, and Beaver County Community College. So the four Butler County Community But thank you very much, Quentin. Boy, Roger would kill me if I didn't get that right, or Nick would. Sorry about that. Butler County Community College. So all four of us are in a agreement together. So basically, when you enroll in these community colleges, you can enroll in Robert Morris simultaneously. And when you finish your course of studying your associate's degree, you will you get all your metrics, come into Robert Morris University. We'll accept all those credits. In addition, in your last 12 hours, if you so desire, you may take at the community college rate classes at Robert Morris online or in person. So it allows you to make it even more affordable, and it creates a stickiness, connectivity between Quentin's the students and our institution. So it makes that transition smoother for those that want to do the 4-year degree. Why is this important to Black boys? We know that a lot of Black boys finish through the middle at community college. So by definition, by making it easier for community college students that want to go to a 4-year degree, you're helping Black boys. We also want to do very deliberate and intentional mentoring programs to help these students when they come over to Robert Morris. And we will be aware of, as my friends pointed out, and you pointed out, DC, my other friend, systemic and structural racism. We're launching a program, Center for Equity and Professional Advancement, led by Amanda Nietrauer, who runs our Women's Mentor and Leadership Program. We have an umbrella of programs, including the Black Male Leadership Development Institute that will also be reporting to her, which is a program that has some summer work at the institution itself at Robert Morris. Then it has about 90 kids. It mirrors Morehouse's pre-college program, Daryl. Actually, it is a son of the Morehouse pre-college program that both my sons went to. And then it has weekend work of 1 week in a month, and then have rites of passage ritual program at the very end. So that all will be under our Center of Equity and Professional Advancement. We want to get Black folk into these jobs that are information age. The last thing I'll mention is the last two things. One is we do a lot with Pittsburgh Promise. So by definition, Pittsburgh Public School high school graduates that want to come and use that wonderful program to go to university, they can come to Robert Morris University. And finally, my good friend from Netflix, the co-founder and CEO, Reed Hastings, just gave us a $3 million grant for 20 full rides for underrepresented minorities. It's called the Next Century Scholarship Program for information age, information system type degrees to come to Robert Morris. Full ride, books, tuition, room and board. We'll do summer bridge program. Looks a little bit like the Meyerhoff program with our good friend Freeman Rabowski down at UMBC that's producing all those great Black PhDs. This is a program to get you, that Porsche, that Cadillac, and that Mercedes, Quentin, to get those great information jobs in the workforce, which we know are not going to go away. They're COVID-proof, they're recession-proof, they're not going anywhere. So we just launched those, and I'll make sure that Dale gets the link because you need to apply. I'm looking at you need to apply for that. And if you can't get that one, we've got another program for you. So come to RMU.
And building upon my colleague, Dr. Howard, the Community College of Allegheny County is another great resource in our region. We offer scholarships through our CCAC Educational Foundation that all students can apply. We also provide assistance through emergency funds if students are not eligible for aid or just need some additional boost to cover their expenses. We value the work that we do at the college, and we make every effort to maintain affordability. 69.6% of our graduates graduate debt-free, meaning they graduate and they can go directly into the workforce, or they can transfer onto their 4-year college university to continue their studies. We also have some pre-college programs working closely with all 42 school districts, but speaking specifically now for Pittsburgh Public Schools, where we do offer and partner with the school to offer dual enrollment opportunities for students to take advantage of college courses while in high school. And we identify funds either through our EITC funds, our tax credit, or we have additional funds that we generate through our local foundations that allow us to provide assistance with tuition and books so that students can engage in the meaningful studies to stay ahead or to strengthen their educational foundation and readiness. We have programs like Verizon Technology that's funded through Verizon that offers IT training on weekend. It's a weekend IT program. We have about 100 students enrolled in that, and it's preparing them for IT programs, which would be a good partnership to complete with us and transfer to RMU because it's an IT focus. And the pathway now, having almost 100 students in that program, sets a good foundation for students to see the value and the advantage and the readiness so that they're even more successful when they come in full-time as a college student and continue their studies with CCAC. The other possibility to also remember, we have a 2+2+2 with Pittsburgh Public Schools, where the 2 years with Pittsburgh Public Schools, 2 years with CCAC, and then 2 years with University of Pittsburgh, which allows students to have that seamless transition to get to a four-year college that they desire. And then the last thing I would say is that even if you're not certain about what you want to do in a career or education as a whole, community college is a great first step to test the waters, explore your interests, and to really take advantage of the opportunity to begin doing whatever you desire to do in your career.
Thank you. The Hamlet, any programs that you all are doing now?
Yeah, our major program that benefits our students getting scholarship is the Pittsburgh Promise. And so the Pittsburgh Promise is a direct access for those Pittsburgh public school students, but also charter school students as well. Any public school a student that attends in the city of Pittsburgh, they are the direct benefit or recipients of the Pittsburgh Promise dollars. And you must meet the criteria. The criteria is very much in place for our students to meet. You only need to have 90% attendance and a 2.0 GPA. And so we have programs in place to make sure that we call it a We Promise program, to make sure that those students who are not Promise ready, we support them in them becoming Promise ready. Support them in their academics, socially, emotionally, anything they need to really support them moving to become Promise ready so they can access those dollars if they choose to. Also, on a regular basis, and we miss being in person, we used to have this big college tour that comes through. We had a couple of them. We had one from the all universities who want to attend, and we had great resounding responses that we actually have at one central location. And we bus all of our high school students, eligible students who are going to graduate to the program and see that. But also, we in Pittsburgh Public Schools believe in supporting the children of Pittsburgh. So we also invite our charter school partners to that program as well, so their students can access those, have conversations with those college admissions advisors and things of that nature as well. But one thing we're really proud of that I started when I arrived is that we have an HBCU tour specifically for HBCUs to expose our students to HBCUs as well. And one of the things, and I haven't told Salim Gabriel, who's the executive director of Pittsburgh Promise, but I know the Pittsburgh Promise focuses on schools in the Pennsylvania. So you can go and use the Pittsburgh Promise dollars to go to any university or trade school or community college in Pennsylvania. But I'm going to push the envelope. And again, I haven't brought this up to Salim yet, but I'm going to ask him, think about opening this up just to HBCUs around our nation. So our African-American students and other students can really be able to access those HBCUs with the Pittsburgh Promise dollars. I know it's going to be a bit of a push, but I'm going to put it out there anyway.
You know, on building on that, just include that it'll be 2+2, 2 years at the community college, then HBCU.
Yeah.
I would just say they could go from the community college and want to RMU into these wonderful graduate programs at these HBCUs, or when they come back from these HBCUs, they can get their masters or doctors at RMU.
we see the stepping stones here. Yep.
As our third partners.
Morehouse changed my life. When I got to Morehouse and I was walking around that campus, to see Daddy King walking around, to see Benjamin Elijah Mays walking around, it did something for me. You know, just to see somebody that looks like me in a leadership role, and I was just at awe. To just sit in and have to go to chapel, and Oprah's there, Bill Cosby was there, just to see these people face to face, it just did something for me. So I am a strong supporter of HBCUs. Morehouse changed my life. I was a high school senior and I didn't think I can go to college. I hadn't seen anybody in my family go to college. I didn't think I can go to college. And it was a guidance counselor who was not even my counselor. He saw me walking down the hall one day. He said, "Hey, Kennedy." He said, "What college you going to, boy?" I said, "I ain't going to college. We don't have," he said, back then they talk to you rough. "Get your in my office." So I went to his office and he said, "Boy, you can go to college. You one of the best students we got at this school. You in the top 10 with GPAs at this school. Why you can't go to college?" And I said, "We don't have no money. I don't even know how to fill out the paperwork." And he told me about Morehouse College. I'm right here in Jacksonville, Florida, had never heard of Morehouse College. Never thought that was on my radar. He told me, and Morehouse was the only school that I applied to. And my life has never been the same. So I know the value of education. I know the value of what it can do, how it can open up doors and opportunities. I did not go at Morehouse. I was not a preacher. My major was banking and finance. God called me later. But what it did is set a foundation for me to be able to do. So here's a boy who thought that he couldn't go to school, went to Morehouse, then graduated with my master's from Emory University, and then got my doctorate from Virginia Union. Only God can do that for a boy who thought that he couldn't even do it. So that's why it's so important for me to see Black men in leadership, to see Black men in education, because education is what has opened up these doors of opportunities for me, of course, along with God, but the education has opened up a world of opportunities for me. So when I go back home and I look at where I came from to where I am now, I got to pinch myself every now and then and say what education has done for me. So guys, I am excited about that. Dr. Howard, you wanted to chime in?
No, I wanted to pile on the Morehouse thing and say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And what I mean by that is what we're learning in predominantly white institutions, that what works at HBCUs need to bring that and infuse that in our academic program to create environments where people feel included. When we are not the house, but we take a little bit of the house to our house. And again, the Black Man's Leadership Development Institute is based on the whole Tavis Smiley, Coca-Cola pre-college idea they brought down to Morehouse, and it's a mini-me version of it, DC. But I'm so happy that counselor pointed you to the house, because we are blessed to have you in our midst. I thought we were gonna get a sermon, fellas. I thought we needed to sit back and start fanning ourselves. I thought Rev was gonna give us a sermon, but thank you. It's an honor being with you, man. And this is just thank you for this opportunity to hear your wisdom and be a part of your leadership vision.
Thank you. And finally, if each of you can give us a closing clarion call to Black men and boys.
As you begin your preparation for next steps, I invite you to consider the Community College of Allegheny County as a potential option. One of the great things that we are doing this year that was launched in August, we embrace the Jobs for the Future Leadership Trust 5 commitments. We are an institution. We made a commitment to care, a commitment to serve the whole community with a focus on social justice, a commitment to build a culture of equity on campus, and a commitment to identify and dismantle campus structures that breed disparities and redesign the college for equity. And we are made a commitment to fund the matters that mean the most. So we are about the business of providing high quality equity within our doors, and we look for every opportunity that we can to be a part of the educational development of our community. And remember the ABCs that I shared with you earlier. Biology, algebra, biology, and chemistry comes before Lexus, Mercedes, and Porsche. You have a great future. Look forward to being a part of your journey. Thank you.
Well, at Robert Morris University, we like to say we're big enough to matter, yet small enough to care. And as I said before, we are committed to creating the environment for you to be successful on our campus. And we're very excited about this new center we're launching and to get you into those great careers and great lives. We know that our students, on average, make more when they graduate, go into the career field that they majored in, And we've done a lot of research to have lives that are satisfying, careers that are satisfying, and have great opportunities. We know that we have a great price point, and we have a real sense of community, a sense of Ubuntu, as it were. We are a sense of togetherness. But in terms of my sort of personal sort of charge and consideration to you, I'll say it in two parts. There's a written by W.B. Du Bois when he wrote a book called The Soul of Black Folk down at Atlanta University, down where Morehouse is. In 1903, 1904, he said, the problem of the 21st century is a problem of race. What does it feel like to be a problem? He sketched out as an intellectual question. And what he wanted to go on to say is actually, you are not a problem. You are an opportunity. Don't think for a minute that you are a problem. You are the answer to problems. And the other thing I'm gonna quote one other piece of literature from Dickens, A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Why do I say that? There are challenges that all my brothers in here and I have discussed about. Some of them are structural and systemic. However, if you do what Dr. Hamlet said, or you do what Dr. Bullock said, or you do what Dr. Kennedy said, you will have an abundance of opportunity, because at this moment, post the public lynching and murder of George Floyd, people are looking for opportunities for Black boys to be successful. So if you do those ABCs right, if you take advantage and treat people with humility, like Anthony was saying, if you listen to your guidance counselor, there are so many scholarships and so many opportunities just waiting for you. So please don't think for a second, you're not a problem, you're the answer.
Yeah, awesome guys. So just to piggyback and say the final word on my side is that one, Pittsburgh Public Schools is committed to transforming itself to become a better place for the children of Pittsburgh. And that's why I made the statement of our system is perfectly designed to get the results we're getting. So if we don't change the system, we'll continue to get the same results. We're committed to changing this system, breaking up this system. We're committed to that. But also my call to you is this. We need to make sure, or you need to make sure that you are open, that you're receptive, and that you're inquisitive to the possibilities that are out there that we're creating for you. These men on this call today are about breaking up the structural and systemic racism that exists, that negates opportunities for you to be successful. But we need you to be open and receptive and partake in those opportunities that we will create for you. And as it will transform you, you use it, it will transform you to become the person you want to be, to become the professional you want to be, to become the human you want to be in this society to create change. But again, you have to be open and receptive and be willing to change and be willing to grow on a regular basis and be this constant learner. Don't just think that we got these degrees and we stop learning. We learn every day. I learn something new every day. I tell people all the time, I'm a constant learner. And as a leader, we need to model the expectation. And in technical terms, that's called continuous improvement. We continue to improve over and over and over again to better ourselves. And if we better ourselves, it'll make it better for you to be the person that you need to be. So be great.
Went out. So thank all of you for joining us. We are starting the Life Male STEAM Academy this year. It is modeled after Morehouse and what I learned as a student there. We are very intentional about getting Black boys to be on the top. We are very intentional about them being involved with STEM because we know that's where the job market is in the 21st century. So as you can see today, we are looking to do it. We're going to start Life Male STEAM Academy. Life stands for living intelligently fulfilling expectations. We're going to start with 6th and 7th grade in August of 2021. So we are excited about that. We're going to add a grade a year. In year 6, we'll have our first graduating class that year. Simultaneously, we're going to add K1. So over a 10-year period, this will ramp up to be a K-12 academy centered around Black boys in STEM, and we added the arts. There is no other K-12 academy centered around that in the country. So we are looking forward to being that example. If you have a child, you have a son that's in the going into 6th or 7th grade, we want them to register. Go to our website at lifesteam.org. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today. This has been a rich conversation, and we look forward to continuing the conversation, continuing your success at your institutions so that we can make life better for Black men and boys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.